Hello everyone, today I'm standing outside of my home in the beautiful village of Oak Creek in Sedona, Arizona, and I am about to tell you about all the pros and cons of living in the village of Oak Creek. Now I want to first start by saying village of Oak Creek is on the outskirts of town. It's the unincorporated part of Sedona, but we are officially part of Sedona. I have a Sedona address, and today I'm going to tell you about some of the things that's nice and some of the things that are not so nice about living here in the village of Oak Creek. My name is Dawn Dickinson, and the channel is Living in Northern Arizona, where I'll teach you everything there is to know about living in the northern half of the state and everything there is to know about Arizona real estate. I am a licensed real estate agent in the state of Arizona, so if you ever have a question about buying or selling a home, please reach out to me. My contact information is always in the description below. Okay, so let's start about some of the more obvious things. The one thing is that it is beautiful here in the village of Oak Creek. As you can see behind me, I have the courthouse butte right behind me. If I look to the other direction, there is Bell Rock, there's Lee Mountain. So again, a lot of beautiful views here in the village of Oak Creek. And if you don't have a view from your home, most people do, but if you don't have a view from your home, just take a little walk around the block and you're going to have some breathtaking sights, some natural beauty, and this is all in nature, and it's a beautiful place to live. Now, another advantage of Village of Oak Creek when you're comparing it to some of the other Sedona neighborhoods is the price is a little bit less in the village than it is in, say, Uptown or in West Sedona. And I'm going to give you a little bit of statistics today. The zip code for Village of Oak Creek, which is a 86351 zip code, the median price per square foot as of like early May 2025, median price per square foot is $476, whereas you compare that to the West Sedona Uptown zip code, the price per square foot is $610 a square foot. If you also look at the median price of listings, homes for sale in the market, Village of Oak Creek is $1.062 million, and the median list price of homes in West Sedona, Uptown, Red Rock Loop, 1.998, so almost $2 million. So you may be able to get a very similar home in the village for slightly less than you would in West Sedona, Uptown, and some of the other Sedona neighborhoods. So that is another nice advantage of living here in Village of Oak Creek. Okay, another nice thing about Village of Oak Creek, there is an HOA. Some people don't like HOAs, but VOCA, which is the Village of Oak Creek Association, has very limited, they're not very obtrusive, they're not going around citing you for lots of stuff. I've lived here for 7 years in this home in the village. I've had 2 issues from the HOA, once where they asked me to put a fence around the garbage cans, and another time where I had tree branches that needed to be trimmed, but most of the time they're not going around citing you. Now, the one nice thing about the HOA is it restricts short-term rentals. You cannot have a renter in your house for less than 30 days. So if you don't like the fact that there might be a party house or a vacation rental next to you in some of the other subdivisions, VOCA does restrict that. Now, there are a couple of exceptions, there are a couple little pockets here and there that will allow the short-term rentals, but for the most part, they are restricted. Another thing I'd like to say is Village of Oak Creek is generally quiet. Now, this morning I'm out here and it's garbage day. So you may hear the garbage trucks, but for the most part it's quiet. A lot of the hustle and bustle is more towards Uptown and in the West Sedona neighborhoods, but it is somewhat quiet here. Now I've got my neighbors putting out their garbage cans because it's garbage day, but generally it's a little bit quieter than the rest of Sedona. A lot of the time the touristy stuff is going on in West and Uptown, and we're a little bit away from the trail here, although the trails are pretty close. I have walked to the trailhead, but for the most part it is a very quiet neighborhood. Okay, number 5 pro to living in the village is the weather is really nice. It's kind of an all year round temperate climate. Now here I am, this is the first week of May 2025. It's about 68 degrees out. Now we did have a little cold front move in. Yesterday it rained. Yesterday the high was about 58. Normally it's a little warmer than this, but the temperature is pretty nice. It doesn't get super hot like in Phoenix. It does get hot in the summertime, and I will go over that when I get into the cons, but it doesn't get blistering hot and it doesn't get super cold. In January, the overnight low is typically in the high 20s, low 30s, and in July, the typical high is in the high 90s, low 100s. When I say low 100s, I mean like 102, 104, which is warm, but most of the houses have air conditioning, and so if you go inside, you're okay. Just make sure you go out in the trails early on those warm summer days. Okay, number 6 pro is you are in great proximity to a lot of the very nice hiking trails, a lot of the outdoor activities, and also some very nice golf courses. Now, I'm not into golf, but there are at least, I think there are 5 golf courses, but there are 3 very active golf courses here in the village. So if you enjoy golf, you enjoy hiking, I can get to the Bell Rock Trail that you can't see behind me, but I have walked to the Bell Rock Trail from my house, and there's all sorts of trailheads, so lots of nice outdoor things to do. And if you're not into getting in the car and driving to the trail, you can just walk around the neighborhood and have a beautiful view and a very nice time. So very walkable community, a lot of nice outdoor things to do. Okay, number 7, to me this is very important. So I know you've heard a lot about the traffic problems in Sedona during the heavy tourist season, and I have complained about that in some of my other videos and the pros and cons of living in Sedona. But in the village we do get the traffic, but most of the traffic gets very heavy north of here as you're driving to Uptown or as you're driving to West Sedona. It starts backing up in the very busy season around the chapel. Now that doesn't mean you won't have some traffic going through the village, but it is nice if you're coming to town that you can get to your home before the traffic gets very, very heavy. And if you're going to West Sedona on business or something, that's a different story. But most of the time, the very heavy traffic is north of Village of Oak Creek, and you can avoid that a lot of the times in the heavy, busy tourist season. Okay, number 8 is very important to me. It may not be as important to some people, but it's the close proximity to Interstate 17. So I can get to Interstate 17 in about 10 minutes, and I can get back from Interstate 17 in 10 minutes because, again, the traffic doesn't usually back up in the heavy season until you're past Village of Oak Creek. But for me, getting to 17 quickly is very nice because a lot of times I'm traveling. If I want to go to Phoenix, get to the freeway very quickly. If I want to go to Flagstaff, I can get to the freeway very quickly. So it is nice to be only 10 minutes from the major interstate that goes through Arizona. Number 9 pro is the location. To me, the location in the state of Arizona is very ideal. First of all, it is a quiet little community here, but I can get to West Sedona or Uptown in about 15 minutes if it's not heavy traffic. I can get to Flagstaff in less than an hour. I can get to Flagstaff in like 45, 50 minutes. I can get to Munns Park in about 35 minutes, and I can get to North Phoenix in about an hour and a half. Sky Harbor Airport, about an hour and 45 minutes. Prescott, about an hour. So it is very nice to be centrally located in the state of Arizona where you can get to a lot of the other towns very quickly, and yet you are still in a nice, beautiful, small town community. And finally, number 10 is that Village of Oak Creek and Sedona has a very low crime rate. When you compare the crime rate to the rest of the state, it's definitely lower than the rest of the state, definitely lower than the national average. In fact, the violent crime rate, it's hard to see it in VOC because it's not really broken out, and you can't even get crime data from the FBI on Sedona because it's a small town and there's not a lot of stuff going on. But the crime rate is definitely a couple of points lower, the crime index on both the national average for property crime and violent crime, so that's definitely a good thing to be in a safe community. Okay, so let's go over some of the cons of living in Village of Oak Creek. First of all, we are the unincorporated part of Sedona, so that means we have to rely on county for a lot of the services. So I have to have the sheriff. If I don't have, Sedona police protection, I don't have city water, I have private water, I don't have city garbage collection, I have private garbage collection. Most of the homes in here are on septic tanks. Now there is a sewer line that runs near Verde Valley School Road. Some of the houses are on sewer, but most of them are on septic tanks, and so that can be, you have separate bills to pay, and you're not under the Sedona city rules, which that part could be good, but you're also not under the Sedona city services. So unincorporated part of Sedona, but we still are Sedona. So the other thing is that we are a small town. So sometimes, I know small town living is great, but sometimes you're like, oh, you know, it's a little bit boring. You know, the population in the village as of the 2023 count was 6,700 residents. So again, very small town, not a lot of stuff. There's only one grocery store. If I want to go to like Safeway or Bash's', I can go to West Sedona in about 15 minutes. But if I want to just go 5 minutes or walk to Clark's, it's only one store. There's only one hardware store. Not a lot of shopping. There's like a shoe store and a bunch of little boutique-y stuff. There's a little gallery. Not a lot of shopping and stuff like that. So small town. There's 3 gas stations. So not a lot going on. But then again, you've got your privacy, and that is also a plus. But sometimes I'm like, I should just move back to Flagstaff because there's not anything going on here. And then it's like, well, if I go to West Sedona and Uptown, there's stuff going on, and like I say, I can get to Flagstaff in 45 minutes, but if you don't like the small town, you could get bored, and it definitely is a small town. So the HOA comes up again. Now, some people, again, don't want an HOA at all. Now, VOCA is the association for this community, although if you go way on the outskirts, go way out on Verde Valley School Road, you'll be outside of the HOA. If you go out on Jack's Canyon, you'll be out of the HOA. But some people just don't like an HOA at all. They don't want any restrictions. And of course, that 30-day rental restriction, oh, it's raining right now. The 30-day rental restriction, investors don't like that. So another con, number 4, is that you're away from the action. Like a lot of the touristy stuff is in West Sedona and Uptown or in Flagstaff, so there is a lot of touristy stuff here too. I mean, there are the Bell Rock trailheads and beautiful hotels and some nice restaurants, but just not as much as Uptown or in West. So, you know, just not where all the action is. So another thing, it's probably a funny thing, but this is a thing of mine, is there's a lot of these little washes that you'll see in front of your house, behind your house, and a lot of the driveways will be going straight, and then you've got a wash right there, and occasionally, if you are not very aware, you could backing out of your driveway, get your wheel in that little wash. I did that one time. It actually wasn't at my own house, but I was showing a house. I backed my Expedition, and the whole back tire fell in the ditch, and then I did get it out because it's 4-wheel drive, but I messed up my running board. I had to cut the running board in half, and I still haven't replaced it. So I have not had that problem on my own driveway, but sometimes when the guests come, again, they turn the wheel a little bit too soon, and they clip the ditch coming out of the driveway. And you will see that not just Village of Oak Creek, but in West Sedona, Uptown, and even some of the other towns up here. So I mentioned that, but it is a problem, and every time I get into my Expedition and see that messed up running board, I am reminded of that. So another thing is that if you like to drive your side-by-side, I have a side-by-side and I love it, but there's not a lot of the trails in the village that you can ride your side-by-side on. You know, the hiking trails, you're not allowed to have a motorized vehicle. So you may need to trailer your side-by-side if you want to go do a lot of off-roading and go up to Schnebly Hill or go up to Boynton Canyon. So you can't just, well, you can. I do it all the time. I get in my side-by-side, but I'm just going back and forth on Verde Valley School Road and maybe through the neighborhoods. Maybe I'll take my side-by-side to Clark's, but not a lot of off-road trails that are accessible to your side-by-side. Another thing, number 7, is there still is a higher cost of living. The cost of living here in Village of Oak Creek is still higher than most of the state. Even though it's slightly less than West Sedona, it's going to be higher even than Flagstaff, definitely higher than Phoenix, higher than Prescott. So higher cost of living than most of the state of Arizona. Still totally worth it, and slightly less than, say, West Sedona, Uptown, or even some of the Phoenix cities like Paradise Valley. Probably on par with Scottsdale. So higher cost of living, not quite as high as West, and that's the only difference is the cost of housing, right? That's usually driving your entire budget, but still higher cost of living than most of the state of Arizona. And number 8 is that it does get hot in the summer. Now, I do say it's not as hot as Phoenix. You know, I grew up in Phoenix, so I know what brutal hot is. I know know what it's like to have 30 solid days of 110 degree above temperatures, but it does get hot here in July and August. A lot of times it's like 98 degrees, 99 degrees, 102 degrees, 104 degrees. Now the record high temperature is 110. So if it's 119 in Phoenix, it could get to 110. Has not ever gotten above that, but it is possible. So it is hot in the summer. Now there are some places in Sedona that do not have air conditioning. They have a swamp cooler, and sometimes very nice expensive homes have a swamp cooler, but generally it can be hot in the summer. Not as hot as Phoenix, but if you're coming from someplace cold, it might be a problem. For me, it's not a problem because, again, I grew up in Phoenix, and I'm like, yeah, this is nothing. So, and cars are coming. Okay, that's it. The last car has passed, so I am wrapping up. That's the pros and cons of living in Village of Oak Creek. I do live here. I've lived here for almost 7 years. I enjoy living here. My name is Dawn Dickinson. I am a licensed realtor in the state of Arizona, and I do sell primarily here in the Village of Oak Creek and in Sedona. Also the other Verde Valley towns, sometimes Flagstaff, sometimes Prescott. Very rarely, but sometimes Phoenix. So if you ever have a question about buying or selling a home in Arizona, please reach out to me. My contact information is always in the description below, and you can give me a call or a text or an email, and I will get back to you. Also, the channel is Living in Northern Arizona. I post videos every single week just like this, talking about these small Northern Arizona towns or talking about real estate in general. So if you enjoyed the video, please do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. Consider subscribing. Again, I post videos every single week, so I would love to see you back here on my channel again this time next week.